Hello, Tennessee Voices viewers and listeners. This is David Plazas, the Opinion and Engagement Director for the USA Today Network Tennessee and the Tennessean. Today, we have a special treat. We have a roundtable on real estate and housing issues. My guests are Steve Jolly, President at Greater Nashville Realtors and a full-time broker with 17 years experience. We have Furtesha Woods, who's President of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, Nashville Chapter, and who's on the Diversity and Inclusion Committee for the Tennessee Realtors Association. Ana Maria Cortes is the Nashville Chapter President of the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals and a partner with Mera Agency, Inc., and also belongs to the Tennessee Latin American Chamber of Commerce. And last but not least, we have Eric Wyse. He currently serves on the board as Director for Greater Nashville Realtors and the Nashville Chapter Vice President for the LGBTQ Real Estate Alliance. And he's also on the Diversity and Inclusion Committee for the Tennessee Realtors Association. Welcome, everybody. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Well, I'll start by going around the same order that I started and asking each of you to give an assessment from your vantage point, what you're seeing in terms of the housing trends and what people are telling you, what your clients are telling you. So let's start with Steve, please.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, David. And I just want to start by saying the housing market is tough right now for a whole lot of people. And it's to the point where it's frustrating enough for some where they're wanting to sit on the sidelines. And I think that's a very dangerous thing to do because it's the one way that we know it's a proven fact that more Americans grow their wealth, their net worth is through the real estate that they own. And so with how tough it is, I think it's more important now than ever that as realtors that we're out there trying to help as many people as possible get the American dream of home ownership so they can start creating wealth. Even if it's as tough as it is right now, that even makes it more of an onus on us to get the job done. And so I think that's really the thing that the most important thing that buyers and sellers need to know in Nashville right now.
Thank you very much, Steve. Furtesha, tell me a little bit about what you're hearing.
Well, David, thanks for having us on today. We appreciate the invite. And I'm going to piggyback off of Steve as well to say that, we all know that Nashville is its city. And anyone that's a true Nashvilleian, such as myself, kind of want us to slow down just a little bit. Traffic is crazy and all, but just as crazy as the traffic here is also our housing industry. And what my clients are saying, they're really frustrated. Like Steve said, a lot of people are wanting to stand on the sidelines and say, I'll wait till later. We've got a lot of mixed conversations going on in the community where they're saying, oh, we're going to have this housing bubble like we did in 2008 and 2009, and then everybody's going to be able to run out and buy these cheap houses. Well, we're here to tell you today that that's most likely not going to happen. We are going to have somewhat of a bubble, but it's going to be a different bubble than what we saw in 2008 and 2009 because there's a different situation problem that we have now. And that is right now we have a scarcity of homes throughout the United States, but we definitely have it in Nashville as well. We can't build fast enough. No one can move fast enough for the market right now. We have 5 times, just to try to give you a visual, we have 5 times the amount of buyers out there as we do homes listed. I know in January of 2022, I live in Rutherford County in Smyrna, Tennessee. We had 7 houses listed, 7 new houses listed in January, when the year prior we had over 200 and something. So if you look at that over the course and over the land of Tennessee and Nashville, if it's the same in every place, then you're really struggling. So you have these buyer wars, and depending on the type of financing you have, that's causing an even bigger issue. So not just that we don't have enough homes on the market, depending on the type of loan that you're getting for your home, could very well determine whether or not you get in the home or not. And so we have quite a few buyers that have submitted offer after offer after offer, and they still haven't gotten in a home yet. So they're getting very discouraged because in our community, it's, man, I went through all the work to get my credit up to par to get in a home. And now I'm excited because I've been pre-approved for a home for a decent amount of money. And I go out there and start looking, and one, there's nothing in my price range because of the inflation in Nashville as well. So, and then I've got to fight against other cash offers and other offers coming in that are just way better than the average offer that we were used to receiving in the past. So we got a lot that we're up against here in Nashville. But like Steve said, we really, as realtors and realtors, we really need to work on educating our clients before we even hit the ground running, to let them know what we're up against and that it will take a little bit of time, but not to give up, because that's the downside. But the upside to the market is that it's a seller's market, and people are ching-chinging, they're ching-chinging out, and they're making lots of money in doing it, because that's what home ownership is about. It's about building wealth. And so it's a great opportunity to do that right now. And we don't want the potential buyers that are out there to let that go, because it's a gold mine right now. So we want them to get in. And I know I've taken up a lot of time, but I'll close with this. I've had clients within the last 13 months to purchase a home from me and turn around to prepare to sell that home, and they're walking away with 70,000 plus. I had one that came in at 78,000, one that came in at 102,000. That's just unheard of in a year's time frame. So it's not a time to sit still, it's a time to move.
Thank you so much, Furtesha. Anna.
Well, I see the housing is very competitive. But at the Hispanic market, we are getting almost every 2 days new real estate agents. So what I'm seeing right now is a big change in our community. As Hispanic, finally they are getting a little bit more educated about it. A lot of HOI seminars or home buyer seminars. So basically in this moment for Hispanic, there were many people to have the idea to buy a house, but they didn't know how to do it, or they didn't have someone that speak their own language and do that process. So I see in the future that these people is ready to either buy a property or invest. The only thing is that we don't have too much inventory, but it's a new market. There's a lot of opportunities there because the people is finally ready to invest, or finally they have the money to buy a house.
Thank you very much, Eric. Let me unmute you. I think you're going to have to unmute yourself. Oh, there you go. No problem.
Thank you for this opportunity, David. Sorry about that little glitch. Boy, I agree with what all of the other guests have said as far as what this market is like. A couple things I'm seeing right now as interest rates have gone up the past few months. I am seeing some people getting new pre-approval letters and they don't qualify for quite as much house, sometimes 10 or 20% less. So I think that's probably pushing some buyers down into different price levels. I'm also seeing, I've had several clients who started in Donaldson and moved to Hermitage and Mount Juliet and ended up in Lebanon, kind of thing. I'm seeing people pushing out. Columbia is getting closer to Nashville every day in this market. So I am seeing people at times recognizing for what is available, and at the price point they're at, they may need to go a little further distance or a little different locale because they can change that, and if that works for them, especially if maybe they're now doing more work from home, as we've seen the last 2 years. But what I'm sensing from my clients is they're frustrated, but I do think they recognize that as rental rates are also going up, this is not the time to just keep renting thinking they're going to wait it out. And even if it takes some work and several tries with a multiple offer to be able to leverage the right kind of offer to get in a home, and even if it maybe is a little tight financially, they're going to grow into that because that mortgage doesn't go up every year like rent does. And that's really the message now to my buyers is, you may have to adjust your location or maybe adjust your expectations of what that much money will buy. But if you can lock it in now, rather than what we're seeing with rents going up, you really are not only preserving what you're paying for housing, but you're then building that generational wealth. We've seen, equity builds in the 17 and 21%. Most of the economists aren't saying we're going to have that kind of increase, but I don't hear any economists saying we're going backwards. There's a big bubble that's going to burst and housing prices are going to deflate. Will it ease off some? That's what most people are saying. I think that's what we're sensing, that's going to ease off some, that equity build, but they're not going to lose ground. So if they can find a way to adjust location or their expectation and get into a home now, it still is the best way to begin to build that generational wealth.
Thank you so much for that. And it's been really fascinating to hear these perspectives, because I remember during my own home buying time, I had to make this checklist, had to work very carefully with my real estate agent and the bank and so forth. And I'd love to hear from you all, but what counsel do you give to people looking for a house to keep going? Because it's one thing to say, oh yeah, you'll get this house one day, but it can be really frustrating. And I've also heard, some analysis about the fact, should we go back to some form of subprime lending, not the same kind that what we saw during the 2008 prior to the recession, but try to find ways to provide more capital. And I wanted to get a sense of, what are you hearing in terms of financing options and how people should be preparing, not just for getting ready to get the house, but also for potential disappointment of having to move from one, option to another. And I'll leave this open and for anyone who would like to take it, or I'll call on one of you if you want. How about Steve? Why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so I think the main thing you have to do is, no matter really what price level you're at, if you can afford a $10 million home or a $100,000 home, there is no perfect home for you. You're going to have to. There are 80% of things you're going to love about a home. There are probably going to be 10% of things that you can't change about a home, and there's probably going to be 10% of things that you're going to have to change, especially in a market like today. And so there is no perfect home out there. So you have to basically, the way that I try to educate my clients is through a number of different things. I educate them about what's happening with interest rates. I educate them what's happening, like Eric said, about the rental market, how that price is increasing. And then we talk also about net worth and how that really increases, like we've all talked about today, when you own real estate. And usually they come to that conclusion upon themselves. But where I think where as realtors and real estate agents, where we can help our clients the most is to help manage their expectations and say, look, I know you can't afford the house that you really want today, but let's get the next best thing so that when it comes time to buy again, you're in a better position to buy that home that you really want, because you've built up this much equity and have not thrown your money away on rent. And I think if we can convince folks, to try to, and that has to happen in any market, but it's more important in today's market with prices rising 2% a month and interest rates on the rise. People just have to adjust a little bit about what they can afford and put off. You don't really want to put off the dream, but no matter if you get the home that you really want or the next best thing, you still get a lot of the benefits of home ownership, the safety and the security and a place where you can really call yours and starting to build that nest egg of money. And so those are all good things. And I think that's what you have to focus on is, what can I know you can't do exactly what you want, but what can you do? What is the best that you can do? And let's focus on that. And I think that really helps people understand where they need to go and not to be deflated because they can't get what they really want. And even if they talk to their friends, the ones that they envy, the homes that they live in, if they really talk to them behind the scenes, they would realize they didn't get everything they wanted either. And that's okay.
Thank you. Any reactions to that or any other thoughts?
One of the
Furtesha.
thoughts,
We'll go Eric and then Furtesha. All right, go ahead.
one of the thoughts I have is with some of my first-time buyers, I've encouraged them to look at new construction for a number of reasons. For one thing, we're often not in bidding wars. They release a certain number of new homes, and if you can get there in time and you're pre-qualified, you can get one and you're not negotiating or going 10 or 20,000 over. And the other good thing is often I had a client last year that put a new construction under contract in May, but by the time they moved in October, they had gained $30,000 of equity. So they moved in $30,000 up. They had to get temporary housing in an apartment. It wasn't really fun for 4 months. But they would look back on that now and say, what a great sacrifice that was to not only get into a home, new construction, very little headache with a year warranty and everything, but also the day they became a homeowner, they were $30,000 up in equity. So especially with first-time buyers sometimes, and they went from you might go from a home to a townhome or something like that.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Furtesha. And then Anna.
I definitely agree with everything Steve and Eric have mentioned thus far. I'm going to piggyback off of Eric, and then I'm going to take a whole different road altogether. But Eric, when you were talking about the new construction, definitely, I think all agents have kind of moved in that direction at some point or another. But you know, our builders are getting pretty savvy now, and they're waiting till the last minute to put that new construction home on the market so that they can get the best value out of it. And so then our clients are paying the normal amount. You know, we're not walking in it with this much equity, but I had about 3 clients myself that got just as lucky as yours did on walking in with $30,000, $40,000 in equity last year. But you also asked David, you know, what are some other lending options that could possibly be available or we should be looking at? And I think the city of Nashville should be looking at better down payment assistance programs, because that is a huge issue right now. Since this is a seller's market, there's pretty much no concessions taking place. And concessions are asking the seller to pay closing costs on your behalf, asking for repairs and sorts. And so a lot of agents aren't asking for those things anymore in hopes that their offer is accepted when we're up against cash offers. And it's not all investors coming in with the cash offers. We have a lot of clients started selling their homes and they're waiting to get their next home because they're in line like everybody else. And so now they have cash to pay for their next home. But when you're up against a cash offer and you have a loan, it's kind of hard. So we have to get pretty creative. And that means a lot of times we don't ask for all the things we were asking for before, but that puts the buyer in a position as well to where most likely they're going to be out of more money out of pocket. And so we used to get down payment assistance, which would cover a FHA, which is a 3.5%. And then we would add our closing costs into our offers. Well, now we're not able to really add our closing costs into the offers. So the buyers have to bring that money to the table. And so if the buyers have to bring that money to table and they don't have it right now, that's running, I mean, on a $300,000 house, you're talking what, $7,000, $8,000. And so if you get down payment assistance, it also takes your closing cost amount up even more because there's some fees in there for that. And so I think as a city, we should focus on ways to help especially our first-time home buyers with those additional funds that are going to be needed that once wasn't needed. 2 years ago, we didn't need $15,000 to close on a home because we knew how to incorporate it in a way to where the buyer wasn't out of pocket all that money. And so now we don't have that mechanism anymore. And so in order for that client to qualify and come to the table with all their money, they're going to at least be bringing $7,000 to $10,000 to the table for an average. And I mean, I'm starting out at $300,000, and we know you can't even really buy a house right now in Davidson County for $300,000. So we need to figure out a way to help our first-time home buyers at minimum cover that cost. And so I know that we have some local down payment programs, but their qualifications have also changed during the pandemic. And so it's made it even harder as well, because it used to be a forgivable grant over a period of time. And now you have to pay on, they kind of go back and forth, but now you have to pay a monthly payment on that. And so that changes your average first-time home buyer's DTI, which is your debt to income ratio, which could knock them out of that price range altogether. And so that's another reason that the payment could, the amount of home that they purchase could have to lower, because they now need this extra money. And now we have to pay a monthly payment on it. So you can't buy this $320,000 house. You can buy a $300,000 house, and we'll give you, a portion of this money you need over here. So it's a lot of moving pieces. A lot of things have changed since the pandemic. And I think Nashville, knowing how fast we're growing as a city and the scarcity of homes in our area and the amount of buyers we have just sitting on the sidelines waiting, I think we need to try to come up with a way to help them with their out-of-pocket expenses.
Thank you. Anna?
Well, your first question was, what will be the best advice for the new buyers, so for the people that are buying a house? I will say that in this moment is patience, because I've noticed that lately the process changed, that it used to be an excited process. You are going to be homeowner, and now it's a lot of frustration, and even that the rates are good, and that you only heard that it's low inventory, that a lot of people is moving to Nashville, all of those things. So people start getting kind of afraid, and it's like it's that atmosphere contagious that you don't feel confident, or you don't feel happy about this process. So I will say that you have to be patient. You have to educate a lot. You have to know a little bit more about what you're doing. Also get the right people, professionals that are leading you in this process, real estate agents with experience, with a lot of partnership with some markets and organizations like Greater Nashville Realtors. And I think it's a for now, and we are the ones that are responsible to create a good atmosphere, because even in the news and all of what you heard right now is all mean, but not can afford to pay a house because the houses are so expensive right now. So I think it's just, we have to be a little bit more calm. We have to be patient, take like a positive attitude in front of this. Otherwise, we are, I mean, this is a process, we already advanced a lot, but I think it's gonna be a little bit, we're gonna be a little bit stuck if we continue doing this, talking about rates, low inventory, and the frustration on everybody. That's what I just suggest. Be more positive and patient.
Thank you very much for that, Anna. And at this time, we're a little bit past the midpoint of the conversation, but I always like to ask guests who are often leaders who have a lot on their plate and often don't, maybe not taking care of their wellness as best as they should because they're taking care of other people. But what are the ways that you've been coping during this time? And we've had this pandemic that is still going on, but is certainly not as acute as it was at the beginning. But I'm always curious to hear what leaders are doing, reading, watching, just to stay healthy and well during this time. And why don't we start with Eric and go back around the other way?
Well, I'm not watching near as much news, which has been helpful. I've tried to read a little more. I've tried to not go to the gym, but walk, just get out in the fresh air and walk. And once my office opened back up, even though some days I was the only one there, I found it really helpful to go to the office, to have a little more differentiation between office and home time after working at home for months. That's kind of been my coping.
Oh, thank you, Eric. Anna, how about you?
Well, I discovered a different way to enjoy life with family time. I used to be out of home a lot, and now I discovered that I have a beautiful house that I never have the time to enjoy. I had an outdoor kitchen that I never used, that now I learned how to cook and grill. I've been reading more. I've been having finally time to exercise and have some workout every day because everybody's talking about yoga, mindfulness, and all of that. I think it's true. I just learning a little bit about everything, and I think that's what is helping me during this time.
Thank you, Anna. Furtesha, how about you?
Well, in the beginning, I think it was hard for everybody. We just didn't know what was happening, what was going on. And what I found is getting outside of the house. I don't care if it's snow on the ground. I try to go outside for at least 15 to 30 minutes every day just to get fresh air. At times I'm sitting at the desk, I'm going between being the president of an association and working with clients. And I'm just at my desk all day. And my husband actually suggested, why don't you start, going outside for some fresh air? And it just really brought my day back down, basically, and allowed me to restart all over again. And so I try to do that at least for 30 minutes every day. Also, what I found was I was just work. And so now I make it a point to make a personal phone call each day of the week to somebody that I love and care for. And we don't talk business at all. It just gives me an opportunity to laugh, release, and just enjoy a conversation with a friend or family member. And that's made a huge difference as well. And I also love reading, and I go back, I got a love-hate relationship with working out, but we're working on it. So I know that it's important. So I do try to get it in. Right now I'm doing this jump rope challenge. And this week we're working on 250 jump ropes per day. So that helps a lot. And I just do it when I need a break. I just like, oh, let me go do my jump ropes and I'll get them done. But one of my favorite books is Go Giver. And I try to read it at least 2 times a year to keep me in perspective.
Well, thank you very much, Furtesha. Steve, how about you? What are the things that are helping you stay healthy and well?
Yeah, for me, it was mostly routine and just staying focused on a few things. One, I really got back into paying myself first a little bit. Every day I wake up, I try to read something, whether it's the news or something for enjoyment or something for work. I start up by the day by reading something that's insightful for me. And then usually most days of the week, I exercise right after that. So I pay myself first, and then the rest of the day, I can feel good about serving my clients the rest of the day. And I think all of us can attest to this, that we really haven't had an unbusy day in the last 2 years. And so having that amount of busyness and stuff to keep us focused on other people's problems, helped me not to focus on everything else that was going on in the world. And getting satisfaction out of helping people, especially under times of stress, is rewarding to me. And so if I can focus on that and not everything else, it just helps me get through every day.
Oh, thank you so much. And as we're approaching the end of our conversation, I will ask all the guests, as I do in every show, to leave some words of wisdom for the audience. Before I do, I'll give this will allow you to think about what you want to say, to reintroduce everybody to the Tennessee Voices audience. This is Steve Jolly, president at Greater Nashville Realtors, full-time broker with 17 years experience. Furtesha Woods, president of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, Nashville chapter. Ana Maria Cortes, who is the Nashville chapter president of the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. And last but not least, Eric Wyse, who is the Nashville chapter vice president for the LGBTQ Real Estate Alliance. And with that, why don't I start with Steve and end with Eric? What are some words of wisdom you might have for the audience as we continue going through this challenging time?
Yeah, real estate right now is a journey. And I think the best thing you can do is focus on what you can get accomplished today. And that's really true in life. And so not worrying too much about the future or having regrets about the past, but focus on what you can get accomplished today. And I think that's what I would share with the audience.
Thank you. Furtesha.
I also like to add that I am the broker of Woods Realty. And my advice to Nashville is to start now. Now is the time, regardless of what you see, what you hear, what you feel, now is the time to get started. The longer you wait, the harder it'll be. And you're missing out on money the longer that you wait. So start now, find you a team that you have good chemistry with, which is very important. Someone you feel you can talk to openly and honestly, that you can trust and you have just a good open communication with. Find that team and get started today, because home ownership is the foundation to wealth.
Thank you very much. Ana.
I would say live day by day. I mean, don't be worried about future all the time. Keep doing what you're doing if that makes you happy. And you are dreaming to buy your house this year, this is the year that you have to do it. Don't wait until next year. Even if the rates are not the best, the inventory is low, whatever the people start saying and then you hear on the news, if you keep dreaming, you will do it.
Thank you very much. And Eric.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. I would just love to say, as I look at this panel here and I see Furtesha and Ana and Steve and myself, we are all very committed to everyone having access to home ownership. And historically, we see groups of color and other minorities, LGBTQ people, Hispanic people who have been in some way shut out of the market in a fair way and were not able to create as much generational wealth. We're committed to that through fair housing and through our own DEI initiatives and everything. So remember that home ownership is open to all. There are a lot of resources and tools, programs to help. And we just want to see the American dream of homeownership really available for everyone.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate all your participation. A special thanks to Blake Stewart from the Greater Nashville Realtors for organizing this roundtable today. Again, I'm David Plazas, the Opinion and Engagement Director for the Tennessean and the USA Today Network, Tennessee. Thank you, everybody. Stay well and healthy. And again, I'm so grateful for your participation in the roundtable today.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
David.
Thank you, David.